Well, hello and welcome. Hope you're all doing fine, certain, relaxed at home. We are still on the NPP Manifesto, and today we are looking at governance, corruption, and accountability. We're looking at it from a government expert perspective. So I have somebody here who understands what local governance and governance in general mean. Not to cut it short, my name is Nana Ansakwa the Fourth, and also your host. This is PM Express. When I come back right after these videos, I'll introduce my guest and we will analyze to see if it is practicable, if it is the right move. You can judge at home the move.
We believe in the programs that we have drawn up in our manifesto because they offer solutions to the crisis that the years of NDC mismanagement have brought to our country. I know that the programs by themselves will not do the trick. We have learned this lesson from very bitter experience. If programs alone could solve our problems, SADA would have brought prosperity to the 3 northern regions of our country by now, instead of which SADA has become an embarrassment and a gaping sore on our national psyche. But then the SADA phenomenon might well be another good example of what happens when a party takes up an idea or a program it does not understand or believe in or got the know-how to implement. To my fellow NPP members, I say to you, we have a good story to tell. It is not enough to count on the suffering of the Ghanaian people as the reason to vote for us. Our programs will restore hope and bring prosperity. Let us go to every part of the country and spread the story of our good news. Tell the young people and the students about the skill training programs. Tell them there will be opportunities for all. Tell the farmers they will not be left to their own, but will be given the support to making farming the profitable and fulfilling business it should be. Tell the business entrepreneurs that their tax burden will be reduced and their business will flourish so they can create jobs. We must make sure our message is heard loud and clear from Axim to Aflao and from Accra to Paga. Tell them we shall treat the mandate they give us with respect, and we shall make Ghana a happy and prosperous place for all her people. Tell them the NPP did it under President John Ajekum Kufuor, and the NPP will take us to an even higher level under President Nana Addo-Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Tell them of the dangers, the real dangers, of 4 more years of John Dramani Mahama, under whose watch the economy has shrunk systematically, with this year's GDP growth rate being the lowest for 22 years. The IMF also tells us in its report that Ghanaian workers were poorer last year than the previous year, and they were poorer in 2014 than in 2013. Tell them it doesn't matter if they have never voted NPP or have regularly voted NDC. Tell them that this is a battle to save Ghana. In this election, we are faced with an opponent with unrestrained and unprincipled access to state resources, with apparently unlimited cash, who has confidence that they can buy your vote. If they cannot, they will try to bully you. This is the opponent we have in this election. So let me speak the words of David to our Goliath. And I quote, "You come to me with a sword, with a spear, and a javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. The God of the armies of Israel, Ghana, whom you have defied. This day, the Lord will deliver you into my hand, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel, in Ghana. Then all this assembly shall know that the Lord does not save with sword and spear. The battle he shall give you into our hand." And I am so grateful to him for giving me Mahamadou Bawumia as my running mate. Ladies and gentlemen,
coal spraying program that we introduced when the NPP was in government has collapsed. Primarily for financial reasons, we've had to endure 5 years of doomsday. Electricity prices in Ghana, thanks to the high taxes and corrupt procurement of power generation, are now amongst the highest in the world. Total debt, Mr. Chairman, fellow Ghanaians, total debt of Ghana after 51 years of independence, and at the time the NPP left office, was just 9.5 billion Ghana cedis. Under the NDC, in just 7.5 years, it has increased from 9.5 billion Ghana cedis to 110 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Chairman, 90% of Ghana's total debt has been accumulated in the last 7.5 years under the NDC government. And 67% of Ghana's total debt since independence has been accumulated in just the last 3.5 years. Under John Mahama, Ghana has now been classified as a country at the high risk of debt distress. Even though the government has borrowed close to $40 billion in the last 7.5 years, the value of total government investment in infrastructure is just about $7 billion. According to the managing director of the IMF, most of Ghana's borrowing under this John Mahama government has been spent on corruption, on consumption, rather than investment. After 8 years of mismanagement, the banking system has been pushed to dangerously fragile levels. 8 banks are currently on the verge of collapse. Teacher training allowances have been cancelled, and so have nursing training allowances. And nurses and health assistants are not being posted after completion. Drivers and transport operators have seen a dramatic rise in the cost of insurance, spare parts, license fees, DVLA charges, and fuel. Taxes on businesses have increased dramatically, and new taxes have been introduced as the government tries to fill the gap as a result of the massive increases in expenditure relative to revenue. For example, we've seen massive increases in the capital gains tax, in withholding taxes, VAT on electricity, financial services, special real estate, special import levy, and taxes have also been introduced on ambulances and bicycles. The NHIS has virtually collapsed. The Free maternal care system has also collapsed. Youth unemployment is high and rising. For the first time in our history, we have a graduate unemployed association. Mr. Chairman, fellow Ghanaians.
The history of our tradition, dating back to 1947, the dawn of party politics in our country, makes this claim unassailable. Such meetings, therefore, reinvigorate our spirits and send a clear message to all and sundry that we are determined and ready to take over the reins of government of Ghana and steer it once more to the heights of development and prosperity as we once did. The core of our manifesto is not just a recently collected set of ideas that we wish to try out on the people or a smoothly packaged work for public consumption. Rather, the essential features of our manifesto focus and revolve around upholding and advancing the dignity of humanity, especially of all the citizens of our nation. This has always been the core of our tradition.
Well, thank you very much for staying, and that sets the conversation rolling. With me in the studios, right next to me is Dr. Eric Odro-Osai, Dean of Graduate Studies and Research, ILGS. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And then I have for the first time on PM Express, that I'm hosting, lawyer Ayikwe Otu, former Attorney General and leading member of the NPP. Saiko, you're welcome.
Thank you. But it's not the first time we've been here before.
Is it? I haven't hosted.
You forgot. Let you go through your archives.
No, not me. Maybe on the show, but no, I was in the host.
Oh, okay.
I was in the host.
Maybe. Maybe.
I was in the host, but maybe. But let me, as a joke, let me start with. First of all, I just want preliminary comment on, if you look at the, the governance side of the manifesto, what they put in place, particularly local governance. Just preliminary comments on it to see whether, and then we'll take it from there.
Right. I think, let me say good evening to our viewers and listeners, if they are. The local governance or local government provisions in the NPP Manifesto, I've looked at it, and the bit that fascinates me more is about the election of MMDCs, because it is stated in the manifesto that within 24 months of election into office, the NPP government is going to see to the direct elections. And I am very happy about the direct election bit. The reason being that we don't want any form of elections. We want direct elections because the local people are yearning for the election of their own leaders, and they want it to be popularly elected. It should be direct election. There should not be any interference. So if the NPP is promising us that within 24 months, they are going to elect chief executives, it is good. Then it means that is going to coincide with the next district assembly elections. The bit I'm also fascinated about with their local government provision had to do with the abolition of the current practice where central governments manipulate the district assembly common fund, deductions at source, and then releasing everything. Now they want to release everything to the assemblies, so the assemblies will have enough resources to be able to undertake development projects. That for me is also something.
So that is fumigation.
Well, that's they may have to explain to us. But the good thing is that they are telling us that they will not encourage deduction at source. They are going to transfer everything to the district assemblies and make sure that the district assembly uses them. That I think it is very important. Then the last one had to do with the land valuation board. I read it in there that they are going to decentralize the operations of the land valuation board, so every district assembly can have a department of the land valuation board to be able to support them to do valuation of properties. But we know that one of the challenges that the district assemblies have faced is their inability to raise revenue from property rates. And they can only raise the revenue if they do the valuation of properties in the district. But this valuation is so expensive, they have to go to the Lands Commission for them to do it. Then because it's expensive, they are not able to do it. So they always apply the rate inputs on unvalued properties. So, and the rates of the property, the values of the property are very low. So it means it gives them a lower revenue. And they are using this revenue to finance an ever escalating expenditure. So indirectly, they will not be able to develop. So once we are able to get the Land Valuation Board or the department within the district assemblies, there can be ongoing property valuation and revaluation at a lesser cost. In fact, it may be at no cost to the district assembly, so that we can have them charging realistic fees. I think for these three, it makes the local government provisions in the manifesto to some extent appealing to me.
No, let me say, you see, I'm one person who really believes that if we could do this valuation and collect property rates, I mean, you could raise a lot of revenue to develop. However, I'm going to use Edumasa for example. You know, now there's a Mwafi who lives in probably, I think, like an 8-bedroom house, which is her great, grandfather may have left her, and she, earns probably 5 cedis in a whole year. So if you come and say she lives in an 8-bedroom house, and therefore I'm going to value this house at God knows how much, and you have to pay this, what then happens to this poor old lady? The house is there. It probably is worth something, but she has no income.
I'm very positive that she has no income, but then she has a means of support. She may have her children. She may have a way of getting somebody to support her. And again, this tells us that we need to improve our social protection systems. And the fact that you are an old lady does not imply that you are not supposed to pay. In fact, when you look at the Local Government Act, if you are above a certain age, you are not supposed to pay tax, including property rates. So there are exemption clauses within the Local Government Act.
Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Can we really afford? We are politically drunk as a people. After we've gone through electing MPs and electing presidents, and now you let all districts loose that now go and find your own DC. I mean, it is going to be chaos. And how do we ensure that it doesn't become a money thing where now DCs have to find T-shirts, caps, bossing people around? How are we going to do that?
Well, we've toyed with that idea for some time. I think the commission, the Constitution Review Commission, even also dealt with it. So we thought that in coming out with the manifesto dealing with governance, one should have to look at that aspect, whether it is not about time that we now start electing them directly. Because at the end of the day, the thing is done in a subtle manner. They still do it, I can assure you that if you go to any assembly, they can tell you the NDC assemblyman, the NPP assemblyman. And yet the law says it should be done partisan. DCs are appointed and all that. If you look at the reason behind the idea of appointing them, is that they represent the president in wherever they find themselves. And therefore, they should be in sync and be singing from the same hymn sheet with the president. So what happens if you have an NDC president and MC who is an MPP? These were things that, informed those who thought that they ought not to be elected. But it is believed that you want to make them responsible, for their own actions, and let the people on the ground, those who they serve, feel that they elected them into office, so that they have a better stake in what they are doing than looking over their shoulders as to whether or not a big brother sitting somewhere thinks that it is time to make a change, So because this thing has been around for some time, we thought we should just get the bulls by their horns and go ahead and say that, look, we've got to do it. So we know it would involve some amendments, and that's why we set ourselves a time limitation. Let's say within 1 year, get the legal things right, get the statutes and things done. Then after that, go ahead with whatever elections you want to do. I agree. I mean, elections everywhere would involve those things, T-shirts and
could you go
billboards.
further to legislate that at district level, these things are not allowed to bring the pressure down? Look, with district allowed, no T-shirts, probably 3 posters per district, 3 billboards per district, just to force it down. So the guy knows, look, I can't give you a T-shirt because I'll be breaking the law. To bring the monocracy business down.
It may not be a bad idea, but the whole idea of those things at the end of the day is marketing yourself.
Well, you have to go. This is local government now. You need to be going to the village.
Oh, but, well, I mean...
The Assembly members are doing it.
The Assembly members do it.
The Assembly members are doing it.
They raise funds.
Are we not going to get back into square one? Because the problem is, after I've spent so much to get there, I'm not Father Christmas. I mean, the people who help me now, my arms are tied. If my wife helped me, if I took money from my bank, somehow I may not be able to take money directly, but then I look at contracts and, well, if I'm going to get 10% out of a bad contract, I'd rather sign it than sign a good contract.
Well, but if you know that you are likely to be hauled before the court for corruption and other things, you'll be careful in the way you do those things.
So
if we keep on protecting people who get themselves involved in, malfeasance, criminal activities and the rest, then what you are saying will become, continues to be the norm. But what we are saying is that, yes, you have been elected, you went there with a manifesto, you told them what you could do. We'll give you, like what we've spoken about, this 1 million per constituency and the rest. There will be money for you to execute your project. So if you go involving yourself in criminal activities, then you should be prepared to face the music. You don't go into government to make money.
No, you see, I'm not saying criminal activities, but you could be 2 contractors who are all legal. But if Mr. Dr. Odro signed, sometimes gave me T-shirts, but you didn't, and they have to construct a road, it's not illegal for me to give it to him, but I only give it to him because he helped me. But if my stakes of attaining power wasn't too high, maybe I could have given you the contract based on just some slides.
Well, but if you allow the Public Procurement Act to work, then it's competitive bidding. So you open it up and let those who, after the evaluation, award the contract properly. But this is a whole idea of good governance. Not necessarily because somebody scratched your back, so you should also scratch his back. Is he the right person with the necessary competencies?
That's what has got in Ghana where it is now.
Well,
we are all scratching each other's back.
That's why we are saying that let's look at the Public Procurement Act. The 2 of us, you want to give to one because he gave you T-shirt. That is sole sourcing. That is single sourcing. And sole sourcing is wrong. Competitive. Put it out there. Let them, slug it out with each other. Whoever wins, having the technical, financial backing and everything to do his work, give it to him. With time, like Singapore, you don't go about giving tips beyond a certain value. It will be considered as corrupting the officer. So if you want to give somebody a tip, say, well, don't go beyond this. And everybody accepts, and the system, you allow the system to work. And why are the European and the Americans always talking about corruption? Because it appears that we don't allow our system to work because of corrupt practices. But allow the systems to work, the laws are there. Let's respect the laws, let the systems work, and we would, succeed.
Mr. Rosa, assuming all DCs were elected now, and so we have the Sujamain DC, who, let's say, is NDC, and then you have the Akropong DC, who may be an NPP. So if the common fund doesn't come out, I'm wondering, definitely the Akropong DC will be jumping up and down, hey, my money is delayed. But I'm wondering if it would force the Sujamain DC to also say, look, mine also hasn't come, or he will be quiet because, look, my party is, because that's what we do. You don't want to embarrass your party, so you sort of keep quiet.
Yes. No, you see, under the arrangement, local government arrangement, it will be extremely difficult for us to get to that level. Because within the Constitution, under Article 252, the District Assembly Common Fund is an entitlement fund to the district assemblies. So there's no, it will not get to any point in time that the government will say that I can't give you the money. It's even illegal.
No, it delays.
No, it would delay. And when you elect a chief executive, and the chief executive does not owe you any obligation because you appointed him, then the chief executive can make noise. At the moment, it will be extremely difficult for any chief executive to make noise that his common fund is not coming. Then you put your job on the line because you were appointed. But if they were elected, you can be sure that if the chief executive common fund is not coming, it will worry him because he's promised people projects. He made promises. And he cannot go back to the people and tell them that my common fund is not coming. So that if it means going to court, they can go to court. And district assemblies are legal entities who can go to court to sue on their rights. They can take the national government to court if they want to. If the common fund is not coming within the meaning of Article 252, it is your entitlement. And if you know that the Ministry of Finance has generated enough revenue and they should be able to give you your share of the DACF, which is the 7.5% of national revenue, and it's not coming, as a district assembly, which is a corporate entity, you can sue for it. But it is difficult in practical terms and in current decentralization dispensation for you to do that because you were appointed by the president and you have to protect the interests of your party and the government. But if chief executives are elected, they will be more independent, they will be very objective, and they would account to the people. And because of that, they will be compelled not to only chase government for common fund, but they would also think outside the box, apply innovative strategies, use corporate social responsibility obligation of businesses, make sure they go and do proper networking to solicit for development projects. So when they go back to ask for the vote of the people will give it to them. You know, they see some burden or obligation on them to deliver by all means. As we sit today, a chief executive knows he was appointed by the president. So it is only the president that can remove him or her. The two-thirds majority to remove chief executive is in the law, but it is very difficult for it to be activated. Why? Because we have already 30% government appointees in there. A few of them who are politicians manage to come to the assembly through elections. So automatically, he can have two-thirds. That would always be on his side. So it will be extremely difficult to activate that one. So he gets the position and he gets it forever. But if we are able to elect the chief executive, I can assure you that it will lead to development, it will promote transparency. Common fund will come like it's no one's business.
Would it breed positive competition where, i.e., one district chief executive would want to bring more development than the other one? You're thinking, look, let me outdo my brother there.
Definitely. You get the citizens comparing. Because Sojaman may have elected their chief executive, and Krupon, they also elected theirs. And you see the Sojaman man doing well. His common fund is coming. He's been able to bring investments. He's been able to do PPP. He's been able to whip the businesses operating in his environs to do more things for development. The citizens will start complaining. They'll start saying that, look, you this man, you are not doing well. Next elections, we'll show you the exit. They will say that. But now it's difficult for them to say that because they were not the people who appointed you. It is very difficult. The best they can do is to petition the president to come and take his man or woman away.
Won't we fall into the usual NPP, NDC to the detriment of the development of the district?
You see, we've all come to accept the fact that we now want to practice democracy. To say that democracy is expensive. So it will be a system that you want to, let flourish. And if the thing is that the person is elected on a manifesto which he puts forward, the people will now judge him by whatever he does. And if after the period he is unable to perform, he falls out. Now, look at the situation in America where an attorney general is an elective office. Not the national attorney general, but the districts, in their various states. You go and contest for it, that you are going to prosecute and ensure that the country or your district becomes safe. So it's not necessarily because you want to do NDC or NPP politics, but you want to ensure that wherever municipality or district you find yourself develops. And if you work well and put away your corrupt practices and the rest, that district must develop. Because, look, you know the price we pay for corruption. If the money is meant to be used for a particular purpose and somebody steals it and puts it in his pocket, it affects everybody. The roads will not be built. I came from Latabi Okoshima office to this place. I passed the ECG Accra office there, you know.
Terrible.
And the terrible nature of the road, I was asking myself, am I driving in Accra? When there was no traffic. So I could have made it very, very fast, but so bad. And there's an MC or something, but what, he calls himself a mayor in Accra, and this thing is happening right here. You know, you go to Lekma where we live, you know, Spintex Road, you know, the main Spintex Road, yeah, nice, asphalted, everything. Go into the inner, you know, places there, and you wonder whether we are part of, you know, Ghana. You got to do everything. And it pains me, people waste money to build their houses, and you come and give them the infrastructure, the roads and the gutters. You don't even care to do that. So if you run on a manifesto and you convince people to vote for you, then they have the audacity to run and come and ask my friend, we don't have a road. We don't have a gutter in front of our house, and we're having problem with the drainage. But this one, who do you talk to? So if it's an NDC MC who is there, then he looks after his people. And some of us are even left out completely. In my area, it will not be developed. Because you are against my friend, they will do it.
On that note, I'm going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, the special independent prosecutor. Who is he? Don't move. Well, just like the independent DC, I'm also lobbying for votes here. So it's RTP and Sakwa TC 1446. Yeah, I need to at least come and put the golden word here. And then it's the same thing, RTP and Sakwa TS, and that's for radio, 1446. And then RTP and Sakwa RTP, and that's for overall radio and TV personalities. So I've been nominated 3 times. I need to at least bring 2. Please, you know. No t-shirts here, please. No t-shirts. No t-shirt. Who is the special independent prosecutor? Is he legal or is she legal?
Well, you see, they talk about trying to bring a split between the office of the Attorney General and that of the Minister of Justice. It's something that has also gone on for a very long time. What is the rationale for that so-called dichotomy that people are looking for? The argument is that where ministers or colleague ministers are involved in some corrupt practice, they believe that the Attorney General, who has sole mandate under the Constitution, Article 88, to deal with these prosecutions, is unable to do it. So some people think that, why don't we have an Attorney General who would only be interested in prosecution and prosecuting civil matters on behalf of the government and defending civil actions against the government, as against a Minister of Justice, who must be able to manage affairs, generally look after the various institutions, For example, you have Yoko, you have Shiraj, you have the Ghana School of Law, General Legal Council, and things like that, the Law Reporting Commission, which are all, agencies under the Ministry of Justice. It should not, in the view of others, be the work of the Attorney General to be doing this, because he has a cut-out role to do prosecutions, and defend the state, be the legal advisor to the state. It should not be a minister dealing with agencies. And I remember when we were there, if an agency didn't have, for example, a board, and somebody wants to go on leave, these things must have to be referred to the Attorney General it is for him to decide whether you should go or not. Certain things should not come to you, but because you are also the Minister of Justice, then you find yourself doing those things, looking for money for the, various agencies to enable them to do their work. Now, because the Constitution makes it clear that it's only the Attorney General who has authority to prosecute, it means then, therefore, that if he does not act, then so be it. But if you look at Article 884, it is there provided that all offences prosecuted in the name of the Republic of Ghana shall be at the suit of the Attorney General or any other person authorized by him in accordance with any law. Now, this is the aspect that people have not, considered. It is not the fact that because it's only the Attorney General who should prosecute, therefore no other person can do that. Because there is this, proviso, or any other person authorized by him in accordance with any law. In fact, this explains why you find a number of police prosecutors, in our courts. People do not know the basis, but they are doing that because they are agents of the Attorney General. And if you read the words carefully, it says, authorized by him in accordance with any law. So there must be a law in existence. So what we are looking at is, coming out with a law, setting up the office of the special prosecutor, so that it will not be in conflict with the Attorney General. He will work under the Attorney General, just like you have in America, where they have serious problems, and they think that the Attorney General may be compromised, then they go for a special prosecutor. You remember the Republican candidate saying to Clinton that I'll get a special prosecutor to prosecute you in respect of your emails. So why you think the Attorney General would not be willing to act, and that is when you refer the matter to a special public prosecutor. But this one, we want to institutionalize it so that serious offenses, breaches of the Procurement Act, for example, IOCO, that deals with serious crimes, organized crimes, come out with their investigations and reports. And all this must land on the table of the Attorney General for her to decide what to do. Corrupt practices investigated by Shiraj would also have to land on the table.
No, unless, assuming you came to power, unless Tony Lita is handling this position, then it works out the same. Because if you nominated somebody from your own party again to say, well, you are the special one, it just becomes a long chain of the same thing.
No. You see, it's like the Chief Justice. Who appoints the Chief Justice? Is it not the President? The President will do it. Then the person will go through.
But then he's given that independent power where his term does not run with the presidency. He's there forever.
No. So you have an act, and the act must have to provide for these things. Protect the person, give him that independence. Let him feel free to work. Perhaps he may even have to, not necessarily within the 4 years. He could even go beyond that.
How would it work? The idea is good, but how do we make sure that, look, unless known lawyers from, so that whenever the NDC is on, lawyer equal to become this special prosecutor, and then when
that is also not good. It defeats the purpose of professionalism. Once the thing is an independent institution, we should, as a nation, come up with the legislation, put in place all the required provisions that would allow that person in that position to be as independent as possible. We shouldn't say the person or the institution is independent and then the independence is on paper. We should see practical independence. And here, security of tenure is very important. Here, how that particular unit get resources to work is very important. Here, the kind of support they receive from all the three arms of government is very important. Both the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary as well. Because if I'm an independent prosecutor and I come to the judiciary to do prosecution and you frustrate my process, it is you undermine my independence. If it is the executive and I have to prosecute somebody who is a member of the executive and you frustrate my process, you are interfering in my independence. Now, in such a case, there should be one of the two arms of government that can come to the defense of the independent institution. If we put all of these things in law, I think it will really help us. When you look at the NDC manifesto, for instance, they said they are going to create a special officer within the Office of the Director of State Prosecutions to be able to do that. But then also means that it is still within the Ministry of Justice. We want to, I think it should be taken away from the executive and be truly independent. My challenge then is, who then appoints this person? Just as we have for the charge person. Currently, the charge boss is acting. Who would confirm the charge boss? Who would then confirm the charge boss? Because if he is confirmed, there are certain decisions that he can take. If it's not been confirmed, it is a little bit difficult for him to function. So the idea is good. They can be independent, but the act that will set it up should make provisions to protect them as to how they get their resources, as to how the opportunities that they can operate, the area that they can operate, the protection that all the arms of government can give to them. It is very, very important.
It sounds like something that will work on paper, but not in real life.
No, I think it can. If we really commit to it, we can. If we have a public accounts committee of parliament being chaired by somebody from the other side, and it is working, why can't this work?
You see, in America, it does work. If you remember the Watergate scandal, a special prosecutor was appointed.
Yeah.
At a point, the president was trying to, the president asked the attorney general to fire him. He said he won't do that. Then I think he fires he chooses, the attorney general rather chooses to resign. Meanwhile, the president prosecutor remains on course and continues, goes after the president. That look, there is something wrong. We need answers. Where are the tapes? You have destroyed some tapes and things. Bring out. At the end of the day, the president was forced to resign from office, and that is the work of a special prosecutor who was doing his work. So if the person has the necessary, support, the statutory protections, including even going for vetting in Parliament, getting the consent of both houses, to confirm him, it gives him much more clout, and his independence becomes assured. And like I said, if you have a Chief Justice and Justices of Supreme Court appointed by the President, it doesn't mean that they have to, pander to whatever he says. They assert their independence and they work.
I'm raising all these questions because there's so much distrust between governance and even between the people and government. Oh, these are their people. They're not going to do anything. So to build that trust for people to have the confidence that, oh no, this guy is going to be neutral, or she is going to be neutral, that's going to be a huge challenge.
We already have a system running like that. You can't become a judge in this country if the office of the president has not approved it. I mean, if they conclude everything, they have to, as a matter of procedure, they run it by the office. So if, after going through all of that, you become fair and firm, what is wrong with that? The judges are doing their work, and we like them. So an independent person can do, the only thing is that person or that office will have to be protected under a law. And that should be it.
Let's use the last 50 minutes to tackle how we can reduce corruption drastically. And your manifesto is saying that corruption now become a felony rather than just a misdemeanor.
That's where we're looking at amending some sections of the Criminal and Other Offences Act. And that reminds me of us and Ayarika reading the first draft and quoting the sections that we wanted to amend, unknown to him that we have even added a few. Because we did some, stakeholder consultation, and then we had the Ghana Integrity Initiative coming out with some other things that they thought we could look at. And that resulted in our making those, changes to the first draft, which he took and was just, reading it out to everybody. So you see, he spoke about, for example, amend the relevant sections of the Criminal Offences Act 1960 Act, particularly sections 239 to 257. He didn't know that we have added 3151, to make corruption a felony rather than misdemeanor. But the idea is that if the punishment for it, in other words, that you make it unrewarding, it will deter people from, getting involved. And this whole idea of a special public prosecutor also going after them, So and then you get impunity. Somebody does something that ought to be punished, and all we find is, oh, you should go and refund the money. And that ends it. We think that we should go beyond that, and things like that. So the whole idea of corruption is something that is mind-boggling. The way we set it out, and I think we have a little time. Corruption is what has brought this shame onto us. Corruption holds back economic growth, increases cost of doing business, reduces revenue to the state, leads to capital flight, and inflates the cost of running government. It results in a loss of legitimacy, respect for legally constituted authority. Corruption demoralizes honest people, fills them with uncertainty, mistrust, and fear. It stifles initiative and creativity and dampens motivation. It undermines the merit system of rewards, appointments, and success. And it encourages mediocrity, laziness, and incompetence. And therefore, if you look at the background of this, you wonder whether we should allow, these things to continue. When you even have anti-corruption institutions which are underfunded, most independent bodies, my friend doctor was talking about it. If you don't give them the money to function, then whither are they going? So they need to be properly funded. Public accountability ought to be reduced. To highlighting government projects without accompanying monetary costs, abuse of the procurement process with sole sourcing, the most abuse. We spoke about it. If you go call one person and award him a contract, then you can take your 10%. But then if it's competitive, it's not as, like, yes, hey, look, we're going to do this for you, so scratch my back, I scratch your back, and things like that. So we really are not happy with the extent of corruption, which is sometimes described as a create, loot, and share.
Let me bring you in.
I think we should just try as much as possible to make corruption very unattractive to all categories of Ghanaians, and we should be able to streamline public administration. Streamlining public administration requires that we make sure that when somebody enters the civil service, at least we should have a way of rewarding them. So the person should know that within 3 years, if I'm able to stay in the civil service, I'll be able to acquire a vehicle. If I stay to about 10 years, I'll be able to acquire land. 15 years, I'll be able to build. When these things are there, it will be disincentive for people to undertake corrupt activities. Again, we should also reduce political expediency overriding economic efficiency in public administration. At a certain time, because of political expediencies, certain decisions are taken that would inure to the economic disadvantage of the country just because of the political advantage. And that, for me, if we are able to reduce it, can reduce corruption drastically. And then we also need a political parties fund. Because in most cases, you get people in higher offices committing corrupt acts just so they will be able to make some money to support their parties. If we have a political parties fund there, it will reduce it. It may not eradicate it outright, but then it will reduce it because there will be an avenue to support them in a way. Because now every political party needs to be supported. And finally, we should have the political will to prosecute people if they are found culpable. We should allow the laws to work. The laws we have in this country, if we were to allow it to work to the extent of 60%, if we are able to implement the corruption laws in this country to the tune of 60%, we can reduce corruption to some extent. But we are not allowing the laws to work. prosecution can be initiated before you realize, because the law says Attorney General can come up with the nolle prosequi, they enter a nolle prosequi, and that ends it. And they enter a nolle prosequi that they are discontinuing the case, and they don't owe the judge or the public any explanation. If we can look at these aspects of our laws and make corruption very unattractive, allow the laws to work, and have the political will to prosecute, irrespective of where the person belongs to, I'm very positive that Ghana will be a very good place.
Let me catch up with some messages. Nana, it's really, I really support the idea of voting for MCEs and DCEs, because at Brekum, there were potholes which were sizes of manholes on our roads, but left unattended to. When President Mahama was about coming to Brekum, the DCE gave the road to a contractor who was even working overnight to fill the manholes. It's not up to a year, but the road is back to its normal state. This is Ike in Brekum. This one says, the NPP Manifesto is basically comprises of 60% of what is already being done by the NDC government and 40% of the policies the government is going to enroll from 2017. Government has issued a white paper on the elections of MMDCs, which would be done in the next term. In terms of corruption, Akufo-Addo was part of the NPP government that threw in the towel against the fight after declaring zero tolerance. Ghanaians are wide awake and would retire Akufo-Addo, inshallah. Berima Kubaji in Jini Jini. Good evening. I have to read that for you, yeah? This one says, please, I am an NDC, but I love lawyer Otu for his gentility. I've already read this. Let me see if I can catch one more. Okay, these are all not relevant to us. Now, quickly, you see, everything in Ghana is cash and carry. We don't have that extended where, you know, you're able to live a little bit above what you earn, so that, you know, somebody in the UK, you know, earns £1,000, but, you know, is living on probably £2,000 a month, and then the other £1,000 is just credit that he, you know, balances himself. So that's what is breeding where people are forced to. Security guy earns only 150. You look at his budget and he really needs 380 cedis just to break even. Otherwise he dies. So once he's there, it's either he dies or opens the gate a little bit for you to park, so he can make just that 380 cedis to. So how do we eliminate corruption? So we're going to kill half the people in the world.
I'm not sure we're going to kill it. We can minimize it. Eradicating it will be extremely difficult. But with time, we'll be able to do that. If other countries have been able to do it, why can't we do that? You go to Rwanda and it's not so rampant as we see in other countries. So it's a culture. We need to cultivate it. But we should start from the top. We should start from the top. Our leaders must demonstrate the willingness to fight corruption by sacrificing politicians, making sure that they prosecute politicians who are found culpable. And then the technical officers who are found culpable should also be prosecuted. If we start prosecuting a number of people, it will send a signal that we are not going to take it again as a nation. And then I say also, we should inculcate it as a habit in the upcoming generation. It should be an important topical area for, for instance, BEC, social studies or something. If you have it in there, that I'm sure it will help. Let the child know that corruption is not good. It is unattractive. It retards progress. Once you put it in the mind of the children, as and when they grow, then we'll have a generation that would detest corruption. As of now, I don't know where or its place in the educational curricula, but I would advise that we put it in there. BEC, WASI, and even in the universities, the core courses, it can be part of it. Corruption and national development. Do a historical analysis. Let them know its effect. Let them know some of the corrupt cases that have been prosecuted and where it has landed people. In that case, gradually you'll be reorienting people to a national court. Again, let me also add finally that our national pledge, ideally, There are good statements in the national pledge that I mean, it should be brought back. Every radio station must say it. We should say it every day in the morning and in the evening.
Well, that's all time will allow us, Lawyer UKO to Dr. Oduro-San. Thank you very much. But let me quickly say, a very high-ranking officer in anti-corruption business to says, Nana, when we took the bill to Parliament, can you believe the parliamentarians were asking for an envelope to pass the bill?
But that was the only point I wanted to make. We should not make it a part of our life.
Good.
Corruption should not be part of our lives.
The number is 024-366-2001. That's for Tanti's Fashion. They make my shirts for the show. 024-366-2001. Give them a call. Tell them which shirt you saw me wear that you want, and they will get you one. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. Keep voting, and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.